Green, green everywhere. Look, green everywhere there, too.
Speaking of green,
golf course.
this is a... Yeah, I was about to say. You stole my joke. You evil plagiarizing mind reader person.
Well, more like I was just playing off what Ryan said because he said, look, there's green there too, as in the grass.
Yeah.
So suck it.
My mind is on golf right now, though. My mind is on golf right now, though, but not for the reason you might think. One of the things I do in my spare time to make some extra cashola is...
You playing the PGA?
Is this the guy
no.
golf?
Caddying does give you good money, though.
If I could do that, I would be in Colorado with my girlfriend by now. No, what I do is I do audio transcriptions and...
For golfers.
No, one of the things that pops up a lot is golf news. So I wound up doing closed captions for that.
Golfer hits ball.
Does it
ball lands on
consist-
green?
Yeah. Does it consist entirely of snore?
Golf is...
Like, does it come with the sound of my dad snoring?
Here's the,
No.
Okay, the thing about watching golf is that it's boring as shit, but it's strangely hypnotic.
Well, the other thing though is that whenever a golf news thing pops up, I do a small fist pump because that channel, it doesn't have any of the weird accents and stuff that make the job a living hell to do. I thought you were going to get knocked off the platform there. I seriously was waiting for it to happen.
Luigi, thread the needle.
Oh man.
You know, Mario Golf...
Oh, so I'm so scared in my games, but ghosts are just fine here.
there's no spooky mansion. This is just floating platforms in space. Luigi can handle this
Right.
shit.
Totally. Makes much more sense.
Yeah. But you know, speaking of horror, you don't know fear until you've done this kind of transcription work. Until you've tried to type up closed captions for a math lecture that's given by some guy with a really thick Indian accent.
That was always, like, why do...
I've lived those classes.
Yeah, why does every class have to be taught by a professor that you can't even understand? I mean... You know, they might be incredibly intelligent, and I'm not trying to talk bad about them. But if I can't understand what you're saying, you're not being a very good teacher.
Well, you know, it's one thing to try to understand a teacher with a thick accent when you're in class and hearing all of the bits and pieces of what he's saying in chronological order. But when you're doing closed captions, at least the crowd surf ones that I do, you get like 15 to 20 second snippets completely out of order. And out of context, and
Wait,
probably with questionable audience as well. Yeah, it basically works. You do like 15 to 20 something second snippets for like 5 to 12 cents a piece, and basically the amount of money you make is entirely dependent on how quickly you do them. Which is why I hate the goddamn thick accents, because those are the ones that slow you down. Kind of like floors. Kind of like floors that move backwards with skeleton hippos eating the floor out around you. That's how it slows you down.
Why aren't you long jumping through this, dude? Oh, there you go. No, you have to continually be long jumping, man.
Yeah, you do that thing where you never actually stay on the ground long enough to run or walk.
You know, Hungry Hippos was kind of a bullshit game, honestly. It was 90% luck.
It was also loud.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the kind of like clack 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 sound is kind of refreshing. Well, not refreshing, but
Refreshing?
not refreshing, but it's satisfying, I guess is the
To a little kid, that kind of stuff is fun. You know what I love about these beat blocks? If you happen to walk along the middle when they're switching between left and right, that doesn't happen.
We had this exact same conversation in the first part.
Yeah. The obvious use is to make that slide section a hell of a lot easier. But it can also be used for just walking.
if you can get it just right.
Green
Yes.
star. Boop.
You know, it's really weird that they make like the black that's normally in like whenever the game switches aspect ratios green. It's really actually kind of distracting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I don't know.
That stuff's supposed to be black because it blends in better. It's weird when it's green. I don't like it.
Well, it's more distracting in the video file we're watching because it's 4:3 with letterboxing.
Well, does the game have a widescreen mode?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the Wii had widescreen support. Even the PS2 had widescreen support. It didn't have HD. I think Japan might have actually moved to 16:9 shaped screens, and not necessarily HD, but the widescreen shaped televisions before America did.
Okay. I kind of find it weird that that movies had always been in widescreen, but they. Well, actually, no. It makes more sense now that I think about it because it's cheaper to produce a smaller screen.
Okay, you're kind of mixing things up though, because movies, theatrical releases specifically, have never been in 16:9, and they still aren't. They're actually in an even wider format.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, then what the fuck's up with it being 16:9? Why not?
16er by 9er.
Why not make it the same as movies then? Why
because
have it be weird?
well, frankly, the widescreen format, while the theatrical widescreen format, while good for a movie theater where you're sitting way back and there's this big wall that the movie is put across, it's not so great a shape for home monitors or television screens.
They're so big.
Yeah, they're really long and really short, and it's not a very good shape for a monitor that you have right in front of your face. It's an absolutely terrible shape for a computer monitor, I'll say that.
This just reminds me that there are some movies that are just better in theaters, and most movies nowadays you just can't watch in theaters anymore. Like, something like The Avengers, I think. Watching that in the theater the first time was an absolutely spectacular experience, but you're never going to get to see it in a theater again, except for, like, maybe your theater has a showing for, like, one showing for a special event, like at the next Avengers movie release or something. But...
Yeah.
So, it's a shame that so many movies that would work...
Yeah, well, you know what would have been worse? If we didn't have home copies at all, and we still had to deal with not being able to watch things in theaters anymore.
That
which
was
is
a thing
what it
for
was back
a
in the
long
time. Yeah.
Until VHS. I would say.
It was the same with television shows until they were able to release home copies of those. It was airing on television, and you got to watch it when it was airing on television at that exact time
Missed
of
a
day.
week, sucks for you.
Missed a week, sucks for you. Can't catch it on television.
Yeah,
granted, there was a time in our lives where we said, "How will I rewatch the Flintstones?"
Well, here's there are images that you can see online of stores that.
Depth perception's a bitch.
But there are images you can find online of storefronts being closed, and the sign the sign in front of the store says closed early for I Love Lucy or things like that. So people actually did close up shop early so that they could catch their episode of The Twilight Zone.
Yeah. But it's a shame though, because there's stuff from back then that we just don't have access to anymore. For example, there are missing episodes of the early Doctor Who seasons that we just don't have because BBC didn't have any foresight and threw out
destroyed all the original prints.
Yeah, there's a lot.
It'll never catch on. Burn it.
I can't remember the percentage, but there's a significant percent of movies before 1950 that are just gone forever. We're never gonna have access to them again.
At some
the rate's 95% if you're before 1930.
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
at some point the publishers destroyed the film to make room for more film. We didn't have hard drives back then, so there was no easy way to store that shit. and we didn't like the kind of home video that we have today would have seemed like Star Trek technology to them back then. So they didn't
Old
think
destroyed films are probably still right next to the nuclear.
Yeah, it's like back in the day, if you didn't need something, you destroyed it. Early computer stuff, video game stuff. If you didn't need data, you got it off of your hard drive. You wiped that shit.
Yeah,
These
video
days-
games.
That's why there's so few animation cells of old animated movies, because they just wiped them off and reused them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're lucky that video games started off in more like as a medium more recently, because video games might be one of the first artistic mediums where we might have like an entire collection somewhere, because like we can still have it's still very possible, albeit expensive, to get a full physical library of every NES game. So
Yeah.
video games might be one of the best preserved mediums, just in general.
Yeah, and even if you can't get the physical copies, emulation has done a significant part in preserving a lot of that older stuff. But even early video game stuff, like they wouldn't keep the stuff that they used during the production.
Oh yeah, I'm surprised for Super Mario Maker for Super Mario Maker, for the little idea book that they brought with the game. One of the things that they included was the graph paper, pictures of the graph paper that they used to create levels for the original Super Mario Brothers, and that's something that I'm surprised they kept. So
yeah, well, like even if video games are well preserved these days, a lot of older games we don't because they didn't keep a lot of the original stuff that they used in the creation of the game. The actual task of porting those games to new hardware becomes harder than it would be for newer games, where they kept all of that stuff on a hard drive somewhere, and then they can go back to that stuff and program a new version of the game more easily, or reuse assets more easily.
Then you're altering the game, Lewis, and that it's not a true port anymore.
A port is altering the game.
No, it's the same game. You altered it, so it's been censored, and it's not a real game anymore.
Oh man, is it bad that I just know someone out there has said that unironically?
You guys also have to remember that about 70% of everything that I'm saying is facetious. Does this comment even count? You decide. Oh, we actually get to see this level this time.
Only for a little bit.
This one wasn't so bad when it comes to Green Stars, because you could see that one pretty easily.
I think, is that the green star that you can also approach from the underside, or am I thinking a little ahead?
You might be able to Mega Man X wall jump your way up to that.
Because I definitely recall approaching that star from upside down and homing stomping it to get it.
Remember when we had to
dear.
leave it to Beaver tangent in this level? Good times. Good
Yeah, we did.
times.
Probably should have saved that one for the Green Star run. Would have been more on
Guys.
point.
Who the fuck, of us four, who the hell watched the actual show?
I've watched like 2 episodes.
I've seen a few episodes.
I've seen like 2
Of the
episodes.
original Leave It
of
to
the
Beaver?
original Leave It to
Yeah.
Beaver. Yeah.
Not even I have seen. The only Leave It to Beaver exposure I ever had was the fucking
Well,
movie from the 90s.
I haven't watched it so much as heard about it, you know?
Yeah, that's pretty much where I stand.
Really, it's just you kind of know it more through cliches than you do from actually watching it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because, all of the stereotypical, oh, golly gee willikers, Mom, I don't think I'm going to get an A on this test. Well, you got to study there, son, and then you'll be able to be a strong, fraternal 50s
Then you
dad
can
like
finally
me.
be that sniper you always wanted to be.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, all of that kind of shit, it might not have first appeared in Leave It to Beaver, but it's definitely the most common thing you can pull all those stereotypes from. Basically, Full House is Leave It to Beaver's 90 edition.
Yeah, pretty much.
Also,
Well, I suddenly just lost all interest in it.
for the record, I love Full House, so, that's not...
I know you do.
It's not even a guilty...
You people are weird.
It's not even a guilty pleasure. I just like the show. Okay.
So I take it you're watching Fuller House.
I haven't had the time yet, and by the time I did have time, Daredevil came out, and I'm more interested in that. But it's on my to-do list. I was actually really upset because my sister started watching the episodes with her boyfriend and didn't without me, so I'm a little bit bitter actually. So.
Dude, you're the kind of person that would intrude your sister's
Well,
affairs.
Well, first off, her boyfriend's over all the time, so it's. Second of all, she knows.
They're gonna have a romantic dinner for two at this nicest restaurant in town. You're gonna be there, being the awkward third wheel.
Oh, like awkward. Oh, excuse me. They can be plenty awkward on their own. Second off, like, come on, she knows how much I love Full House.
Boy, the sex is gonna be really weird.
Okay, I don't need. Okay, I'm playing through Fire Emblem 14 right now. I don't need to hear about awkward sibling sex, okay? Why?
Remember, it's legal if you're technically not related.
Yeah, but you can support with the characters from the Hoshido side, and you are related to them. I mean, Fire Emblem's no stranger to incest, mind you, but still, come on.
There's probably some weird cultural explanation for that stuff, but whatever.
I'm actually anticipating that they're not going to be familially related, but I bet you I'm going to have to wait until Revelations to figure that out. And I'm only
well, the thing, the dead giveaway there is even on the Hoshido side, nobody's got pointy ears like Korin does.
Or turns into a dragon.
Well, they all can do dragon stuff. They all have that, what's it called, the dragon vein, which allows you to, like, create bridges and stuff like that, so...
Yeah, but as far as I know, they don't fully turn into dragons.
Oh, no, that's just
Korin
you.
does.
That's just you.
Yeah, so...
This
Yeah.
star can kiss my ass.
You have to home and stomp it. There's the only way you're getting that, because depth perception is impossible with that angle.
So you're
Yeah.
saying 3DS remake of Super Mario Galaxy.
You want to know the painful thing? I didn't even know the homing stomp existed until after I
What?
100% of this game
I
and the
re-
other game.
I remember when I was playing Super Mario Galaxy 1. I accidentally ran into the homing stomp, and I didn't know what it was, and I tried for like probably about 15 straight minutes to recreate it, and I didn't know how to do it, and I was really upset.